My name is Monica Kretschmer, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Universal Women's Network, Woman of Inspiration Awards, and this is the Woman of Inspiration podcast, where we speak with women who lead, inspire, and motivate. Today's guest is a very special guest, and I'm excited to spill the beans about her career and the conversation we're going to have today. Today's gal finds global consumer partnerships at Variety, one of the most iconic and influential brands in the entertainment media. With the largest entertainment news gathering team in the world, Variety is the industry's link between every showbiz center across the globe, reaching 84 countries and more than 145,000 decision makers worldwide. Michelle oversees partnerships across digital, social, print, and live events, leading innovation campaigns for some of the world's most powerful brands. With a career spanning Forbes, Billboard, and Variety, she has spent over 2 decades shaping the connection between media, culture, and commerce. This is an incredibly exciting time for women and women in entertainment. Women are influencing culture, reshaping the economy, and shifting the power dynamic. While progress has been there and it's been made, there is still work to do with women constantly in positions of power. Michelle joins us today to share her journey, her perspective on the trends and innovations reshaping the global entertainment industry, and why celebrating women in leadership and media is not only essential, it is the future. Listeners, get ready to be inspired. Welcome, Michelle.
Thank you so much, Monica. Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Well, I'm looking forward to a really great podcast with you today, Michelle, and I've been looking forward to this all week. You have built an incredible career in media and partnerships. Can you take us back to the beginning and what inspired you to pursue this path? And what are some of those pivotal moments that have shaped your journey?
From an early age, really I was drawn to entertainment. So it was always something I dreamed of being in. It was exciting. I used to be a dancer. I taught, I choreographed for years. I knew it was going to be really tough to become a professional dancer long term and what it does to your body. So my next best thing was to really work in entertainment. My tenure with Variety is 16 plus years. A lot has happened over those 16 plus years. I've seen transformative shifts in media, in entertainment. When I started at Variety, we were publishing 6 print editions a week. And we still do print a weekly magazine. It's beautiful if you haven't seen it. We are now have expanded our footprint globally, digitally, social. We are continuous. This will be our 3rd year of being the #1 entertainment news site on ComScore. And we're very, very proud of that legacy. Variety, most people may not know, was founded in 1905. So we're proud to celebrate our 120th anniversary this year. And we really take pride in staying relevant within current entertainment climate and generating new audiences, figuring out what we should be covering, how we're on the pulse of culture continuously. And that spills over into our brand partnerships. We partner with Fortune 500 brands throughout the year across the globe, and we do it in very different creative ways. And that is something I'm truly proud of because I built a team that builds our partnerships based on trusts and relationships.
Beautiful. And so coming into the industry, how did you break in? Because there are so many people that might be listening that have daughters or, people that are looking at their career paths for the future. But
Yeah.
how did you break into it
Yeah.
and push through the noise?
It's tough. I think that a lot of people, see entertainment, they think, oh, this is so exciting. I'm want to be in entertainment. For me, it started with internships, early days in my, even at the college level. I went to Albany, upstate New York, and I was a communications and major. For me, I looked to find something in entertainment up there at the Capital Region. There was a beautiful old theater that had Broadway shows. Come and visit, and so I got an internship in public relations at the theater. That was my first foray. Then I had a few internships at some record labels. After that, really started at the college level because, and this is what I tell also kids that are coming up right now, don't wait till after graduation. It has to start in your academia. So how are you making strides to find those types of internships that will then lead you to the career you want? And I'll also say that over the years, it's not exact. I thought I wanted to be in public relations, and I did. Early days, I pivoted from when I worked at Forbes Media. I was hired to program our C-suite conferences, and what that entailed was calling up CEOs, convincing them to speak at our summits for free. We weren't paying travel, and cultivating those relationships at an early stage in my career was tremendous. It was there where I discovered, oh, I have a knack for persuasion. Maybe I want to try my hand into sales. And that was my pivotal moment in my career, that I can use this skill set into building a sales career and now sales leadership. So for me, it was figuring out what am I really good at, what do I enjoy doing, and building a career from there. And I would say even now in my career, even after 20 years, I want to continue to learn and grow. I think that's all how we stay relevant in our careers and figure out what's next.
Well, thank you to the industry and thank you to AI and all of this new tech, and it's just rapid growth constantly. That's not going to be a problem because if we don't continue to learn, we aren't going to be into the game. So I guess my next question really for you, Forbes, Media to Billboard to Variety, you've worked with some of the most iconic platforms. Truly, you have. But when you had your big break, what are some of the challenges and the barriers that you faced as you sort of navigated that career path along the way?
Yeah, I mean, I think early in my career, I had to navigate barriers, sometimes being the only woman in the room. So, how do you early on establish a voice, credibility, confidence? It's not easy. It's easier said than done. I think for me, showing up prepared, doing my homework, making sure that if I'm going to speak up in a big meeting or I'm doing a big presentation, I better have the goods to back it up, so to speak. So for me, it was breaking through, but having to really feel that I was prepared in whatever situation I was in. And if I was the only woman in the room, so be it. I just have to make sure that my voice is heard.
And so would you say that, over the decade that, you have, and certainly your years within Variety, have you seen an evolution of the change in sort of welcoming women to that table?
100%. I am so fortunate to work under many strong female leaders at Variety. My boss is our CEO and publisher, Michelle Sabrino Stearns. She has been a support for me all these years. She's a working mom. She's an amazing executive. Having really accomplished, amazing mentors is the other thing that has helped shape my journey and break through barriers. And seeing that shift, even in the 16 years at Variety, has been tremendous.
And so I think that's one of my next questions, which is a beautiful lead in, I have to say, that Variety is one of the most respected brands in media and entertainment. So with such a competitive industry, it's continually evolving as you've shared. What do you think sets Variety apart from the competitive brands in the industry, and really in particular, elevating women's voices and
Yeah.
stories.
Yeah, I think it's that trust that Variety has had since 1905. We will continue to have that trust that comes from editorial integrity. So our product staying true to our, business of entertainment news and staying true to that. It in terms of elevating women's voices, I'm really proud of a franchise that we started called Variety's Power of Women. We started that my first year at Variety. We still continue to do two big moments throughout the year. It's always in the fall. We do our Power of Women event in Los Angeles, and this year we launched a Power of Women Nashville, which we will continue to do. And really, the premise for this moment is honoring women that are doing amazing things using their own platform for good. So social impact, various philanthropic causes. We give these women a platform to really talk about the amazing work that they're doing. It's not just about, their fame, their status. It's about doing the work, and Variety, has a great legacy of staying true to that and elevating these women. We don't rank the women. We do an impact list in our editorial feature. It's 50 profiles of the most impactful women in entertainment, but it's not about ranking women. It's not about pinning them against each other. It's about celebrating their successes, both in the industry and through social impact causes.
Beautiful. And Michelle, of course, the Woman of Inspiration Awards is, something that I created over a decade ago, which is just really true to the core. It's about putting women into the spotlight. And I don't know if you can see my mug with all the lipstick stains here, but the mug says, when you celebrate one woman, you celebrate all women. And
Love
that
that.
is truly what happens when we do celebrate women. So I love what you're doing with those impact awards, because we truly need more of that, which also feeds into my next question. We're seeing on a global stage, such as Cannes, where we bumped into each other, to the Oscars, to the variety events that you host. Why is it becoming more increasingly, important for brands to be aligned with that celebration of women in business,
Mhm.
leadership, and entertainment?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's when we bumped into each other, I've seen a shift in the crave for in person, right? Experiential. I think that, we talked about AI and how technology is shifting, and I'm embracing it. I think we all have to. We can use it to help us, but what it cannot do is replace human connection. And I think brands are recognizing the need for human connection, whether it's, supporting, celebrating women on a main stage. It's being in those big moments like the Oscars. I think that shift, I don't see ever changing, even with all the technology in the world. I think actually I would argue to say that it's even more important to be in person now, because it's so easy to feel disconnected when you're, on the computer all day, or, so I think being in those rooms in an authentic way is more and more. I'm seeing brand partners come to us and say, look, we don't want to be doing this with you. It has to feel organic. It can't be forced. So that's our job, to come up with really creative, collaborative partnerships. And how do we make the brand's messaging stand out in an authentic way, whatever that moment is, cultural moment?
Beautiful. And, your global perspective, what sort of industry trends do you see that are shaping the future of the entertainment industry? And where I'm going with this is that we're seeing, I mean, perhaps it's just my feeds, but I'm seeing it a lot, where women are really shaping the future. And when
Mhm.
we look at, how Taylor Swift is really redefining the music economy, we're looking at Jamie Lee Curtis, who there is, she's saying, I'm 60 in my 60s and I'm only just getting started, where age is no longer a limit. And then we're
Mhm.
seeing women who are in front of the camera now behind the camera.
Mhm.
So how are these leaders and women driving change, and how does that really work into the work that you're doing? Um, does it make it a lot more challenging, interesting, exciting? Like, do you
I
see
think it's
that
exciting.
opportunity?
Yeah, I see it as opportunity. I see it as an exciting shift. I think finally, more and more women are having a seat at the table. They are saying, I want to fund my own projects. Seeing, women like Reese Witherspoon and what she's done with her, not just, I think it's hard and early in your career to say, oh, I want to, have so many opinions, but as you build your brand and your, you feel the confidence to say, no, I only want to, work on this, or this is the right project for me. I would say on our side of the business, partnerships, it's I always say it's a marriage, right? So if a brand comes to us and maybe it's not a fit or it feels too forced, I've told my team sometimes we may have to walk away to find the right collaboration. And I don't think for us that's always been, very successful to say this truly has to feel like a partnership. If it's forced, it's not going to work. And believe you me, we're not going to have repeat partners. So it's just not going to be a good strategy long term, right? So I think it's hand in hand with finding the right partners and the right moment that feels very organic. So I think in the industry for women to be able to have a voice, to be able to use their platform for whatever it is, the projects or new podcasts. I think it's really, really important that we as an industry and media brand continue to support that, write about that, and honor them at various events.
Well, that's music to my ears on so many levels, because I feel that, and I know that women have said, we've always had to work that much harder. Um, and I think that only really became apparent to everybody else in the world when the pandemic started. Like,
Mm-hmm.
when we were going through that, because they're like, oh my God, like, women are really taking on so much more than just their work roles.
Yeah.
And it was hard to avoid seeing how much that was. So how do you think that in that changed even during the pandemic, as hard as it
Yeah.
was for women, I think that put us ahead.
Yeah. I actually loved it. I mean, I was talking to other working moms. I have two kids. I have a high schooler and a fifth grader. And at that time my kids were younger. So having to navigate, my daughter was 4 years old at the time. She wanted to be on every Zoom call. And so we just kind of like, all right, okay, come say hi. It was just kind of it was the norm that, the cards are out. Yeah, I'm a working mom and I'm trying to navigate this all. And I think it was just, I'm not going to be ashamed. I have two kids and I'm, juggling all this. And by incorporating them, it made it very real. We were all navigating something, whether, you had your pet at home, you were caring for an elderly parent. I mean, all stages of life, it humanized all of us because we were all stuck, working in this environment. And I think, for Variety, it was a big shift for us. We had to pivot. We produced 90 events a year and we were like, what are we going to do instead of just saying, okay, well, I guess we'll just figure it out. We quickly moved into action. We started a virtual events business. We went to our trusted partners and, we quickly pulled it together and had an amazing strategy that sustained us. So I think during that time, I saw a realness I saw a lot of creativity come out of it because we were all there just kind of, let's do another Zoom call to brainstorm. And I saw a lot of great ideas come out of it that we're still embracing today.
Beautiful. And you know what I find really interesting is that, as hard as it was to go through that process, we can actually put stuff together at lightning speed.
Yes.
Like we can prove what is possible
And the
and
multitasking.
and the
Next level.
multitasking.
Next level.
Next level for sure. We talked earlier about, I want to go back a little ways and talk about the women, because I really want to put the spotlight on the women in the industry. And I mean, certainly you're a woman that other women look up to, Michelle, in your career path and your leadership. But who have been some of those women who have inspired you on your journey that you look up to for inspiration, or your role models that the ones that you may know or that you look at from a distance? Let's shout them out.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I mentioned my boss, who's been a pivotal supporter of my career. I think one woman that's inspired me since I was born is my mother. My mom, who's turning 90 next year, had a big milestone birthday. She immigrated to this country with knowing very few English words, had to navigate a new city, a new country, new language. She really gave me my work ethic. She led by example. She served in the military. She is an amazing, strong woman who has always supported me every step of the way. I think that foundation is what drove me and still drives me to this day. And I try to instill that to my daughter. And I would say my 10-year-old inspires me every day as well. She's a fierce 10-year-old who is going to do amazing things in life, I have no doubt.
Beautiful. I think back, Michelle, to when I was growing up. We didn't have the luxury of having so many female role models just at the click of a button, or so easy access to learn from them. And the
Yeah,
women really that have done some incredible things that are actually now on the other side that they can share the
yeah.
story. So, I mean, that's what's so incredible about, our future generation of leaders. Like they are fierce.
Yeah, and I think for me too, leading teams now, and you had talked about the pandemic and being exposed that, oh, I'm a mom. I've never been apologetic about it. This is who I am. And I think being vocal about it helps younger generations, whether or not they're planning their own families. I think to showcase that you are juggling personal and professional life, I think that's a really good thing to show future generations that, look, this is life. It's a balance and it can be done. And it's, if I have a sick kid at home or have to take him to a doctor's appointment, this is part of my day to day. And that's what, bleeds into me and motivates me as a professional.
There's one word that comes to mind, Michelle, as you're speaking, and I'm sure the listeners are going to say, oh, uh-huh, is the word authenticity.
Mhm.
And, that this year in Cannes, especially, authenticity came up. And it was, it's almost like these I mean, it's overutilized, but
Yeah.
how do you believe that, really as a leader in a positions of power, your role now being so authentic, um, I don't, that's changed as well over the past couple
Mhm.
decades too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
maybe you can talk a little bit about how, that really embracing your true power and the power of your voice is really being authentic.
I think being authentic boils down to one word, and that's listening. I think if we're not listening to what our colleagues have to say, our teams have to say, making sure we hear their opinions, their ideas, making sure that they know they have a voice, that to me is what I can do. That's my part into being an authentic leader, is truly listening. And that's also, with our clients. If we're not listening to our clients, we're not going to hear what they have to say. And that's always been my sales 101. If you show up and you do not listen, you should not be in sales. That's really because clients don't want to be spoken to. They want to be heard. And that's really, I would say that is truly real for both on the client side and internal teams as well. And I think when you listen, you hear some amazing things, and that's where the best ideas come from.
Beautiful. Um, you know, I have so many questions I want to ask you, and I want to, you know, that listening piece is really important. But what are the words of advice were you given when you were, making your career path? And maybe let's touch on a little bit of the support hers as well. Shared it in the green room that I really would love to talk about the
Yeah,
men that were allies and champions, because it requires paying attention to what they have done and sort of, hearing, some of the stories and seeing how we can apply it to our own career path. So who have been some of those support hers for
yeah.
you? And maybe share a little bit of those words of wisdom that you were able to, infuse into your own leadership.
Yeah. So I'll start with support her. I have to say my husband, who we've been together 22 years, married 17 years. I could not do any of it without him. He is my rock. We truly have an amazing partnership. Whether it's me prepping for a podcast or um, me frantically calling him that my train is late and he's got to go, start dinner or pick, our kid up from a soccer or hockey, whatever it is. It truly takes a partnership to achieve success. And collectively, we do it together. We have our parts in, our personal lives, and he has been, so supportive all these years. And I really could not do and achieve what my professional goals without him. In terms of what I've learned along the way, I think perseverance has been something that I was told early on, especially pivoting to sales. You could get easily you know, just kind of discouraged if things are not going your way, or you spend so much time on one thing and it doesn't pan out. How do you stay focused, stay motivated? And it truly is perseverance, patience, doing the homework, showing up. But then sometimes it could take 10 years to close a deal. I've had that happen. But if you maintain your authenticity, your relationships, it will come back. And I truly believe that. And I've seen that happen. I've always said this, there's no bad sales meeting. There's not, because even if it doesn't result in a sale right now, something will happen down the line if it's if it's the right fit. And if you do your homework and you really are intentional with who you're prospecting, why you're going to them, what, you could collaborate, you have to show up ready to go, because people don't have time to waste. We're all so busy in our lives. So really taking the time to formulate your, whatever it is, pitch, that is huge. And if it's not, the right moment, it will be down the line.
Beautiful. No for me has always been not right now.
Right.
There's never like
Exactly.
a final, and there's always an opportunity.
Yeah. And you have to fail to win. I've always said that failure is not a dirty word. It is a good thing, because
Right.
you
I mean,
always learn something, you always tweak something, you know, there's always room to grow, innovate, and persevere.
very cool. Well, I hope our listeners are gathering some really great gems here because I think there's a lot of information that you're sharing that just it hits home not only in your industry, but certainly every industry. And regardless of what career you're in,
Yeah,
we all face those kind of doors that almost seem like they're closed, but
yeah,
really that perspective, Michelle, is really important to reinstill that it's not always the case, right? You just have to be
right.
patient and consistent, prepared, and you got to have some grit.
Great. It's a great word. If I had to pick one word, it would be grit.
I love that word.
Yeah.
So, Michelle, I think I've still got some more questions for you, but I mean, I've been like when you got on, there's two pictures in your office, and I want to talk about some of the celebration things, some things that you
Shoot.
can celebrate because, I love to celebrate those. First, let me rewind here. How do you or do you celebrate those, closing that deal after 10 years? I mean, are you going home, cracking a bottle of wine? Are you having a party in the office? Like, are you taking time to say, I nailed that and I'm super excited because it was worth the wait? How do you celebrate?
We do. I think this is something that I've learned, later in my career that we need to celebrate these milestones and successes. I think earlier on, I just move on to the next. I don't want to be boastful. I think women fall into this, to this mindset of, "Ah, I can't, it's too, boastful. That seems so narcissistic. And it's not. We need to be celebrating our successes and we should be shouting it from the rooftops. I really truly believe that, but I think it took a minute for me to realize that. And that's something I want to continue to foster amongst my team, that we should be celebrating all of our successes. We work hard. We need to be recognized. I think that's truly what motivates people, by being recognized.
It all comes down to one word, being valued.
Absolutely.
So, what were some of those, because I do a lot of interviews, and that's one of the questions I ask women.
Mhm.
And I have got to say, there's only one woman that I've ever interviewed, and that was Hazel McKellion, who is a mayor for 36 years up in Canada. And, like everybody's really nervous about that stepping into the spotlight because they fear
Mhm.
it's part of ego. And so,
Yeah.
how did you get over kind of that whole mind, kind of barrier of, ego versus leadership?
Yeah, I think it started with me recognizing if someone gave me a compliment and I felt the need to be like, oh, but you're so, or no, 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 that's not true. I think, and having a daughter actually made me really hyper aware of any negative things I would say about myself. And I really wanted to be mindful of that because I did not want her picking up on that. So I've had to really be mindful of, oh, well, someone's giving me praise. I need to accept it, thank them, agree with them. That's not egotistic. That is an acknowledgement. That is cordial. There's nothing wrong with that. I think it comes from, just years of doing this and seeing how people light up when you just give them a little praise and, recognition. That, on the leadership side, that's finding out what motivates each person on my team, and, what are they passionate about, because they will put that into the work. So again, I think it's really about asking those questions, finding out, and fostering that into a team environment. And I think, you mentioned it before, leading by example, right? They see that, they see the success, they see the celebration. It feels normal, as it should be,
And that it's possible to achieve.
and it's possible.
Beautiful. Okay, so now the pictures behind you. And, we were trying to make sure that we got them in. And so maybe you can tell me, because we didn't talk if they had a story, but I'm guessing they have a story. So
Yeah,
maybe just
so
share for because there's some people that aren't going to be able to see us or the pictures, but just
yeah.
listening. So maybe just share a little bit
I'll
about.
describe it. So the one picture behind me is Jennifer Coolidge on this rose-colored velvet couch. She's sprawled out with a little greenery on her, strategically placed. This was from our Emmys cover, and Jennifer Coolidge, as I think most people know, has been on the White Lotus. She received many accolades for that role on White Lotus. So we had her on the cover. She's incredible and also hysterical. Behind me, I don't know if anyone could see, but behind me is a big cover of Elton John and Dua Lipa. They were on the cover of Variety for our Hitmakers issue, which is our December issue where we celebrate the top musicians and Grammy contending artists. We do a big event in Los Angeles in December that serves as our pre-Grammy nominee event. So that was the collaboration with Elton John and Dua Lipa that year, and really, really fun. We had Dua Lipa at our event that year, which was, I believe, 2 years ago or 3 now.
Beautiful. So what kind of, I'm just dying to know. I mean, you have probably the best Rolodex, I'm sure. But are there any really special moments that you can share that are sort of, milestones in your career or some really special moments that you've experienced that you're really proud of or that you've helped facilitate?
Yeah, I mean, I think Milestones is, for us, seeing our team grow. So when I started at Variety, it was myself. It was a person, a salesperson on the brand partnerships consumer side, which is not film or TV accounts, it's everything else. We work with fashion, auto, travel, really across the gamut. And so having started being, a solo salesperson to growing now to a full team and seeing what we used to do a handful of events when I started to growing to 90 events globally has been a huge, huge milestone in my career. Taking on leadership role in growing a sales organization, I take a lot of pride in, and really expanding our footprint into other markets. I think one moment I remember it was years ago when Variety really started off as trade publication, the business of entertainment. But then I remember a shift where, my suburban mom friends in New Jersey started quoting and mentioning Variety. And I said, wait a minute. So there was a shift in our audience, and seeing it grow to the mass has been a really exciting thing for Variety, and continuing to stay on top of being the #1 entertainment news site has been tremendous. It's a challenge that we will continue to navigate and want to continue to see us grow and expand into other markets, to expand and really do some amazing things across the globe.
Beautiful. And so, you know, I'm sort of, we're nearing the end of our, and I can't even see what the time is right now, but I have to be cautious of that because we're both on schedules here. And I want to talk, like, I could go on and on all day, but we don't have 3 hours today. But I have a definition of a woman of inspiration. I mean, this is a woman of inspiration podcast, and, you've definitely achieved so much in your career, Michelle, so far. And it's mind blowing to see what one person can really, the impact that one person can really make in an organization. So I hope that you are truly valued within your company for that. But what is your definition, Michelle, of a woman of inspiration?
I think a woman of inspiration to me is someone that leads by example, that walks the walk, talks the talk. I'm never going to tell my team something or ask them to do something that I wouldn't do myself. I think being inspired comes from, that celebrating accomplishments, right? So I'm inspired by women that have chosen to balance their life, professional and personal, beautifully. I'm inspired by women that continue to break the glass ceiling, that continue to make and have a path for other women coming up. I think, in being inspirational means giving others opportunity. It's not about me. I always say that it's really about everyone else that's around me. So if that didn't exist, I wouldn't exist. I wouldn't be successful without the teams, the support, the collaboration. So I think that truly is being inspired is the village that supports you and the village that, is around you.
Beautiful. And what sort of words of advice? I know that there might be some, moms leading, listening to the podcast, or even some dads. Like, I really hope that
Yeah.
our listeners are like, I'm going to send this to my husband because he has a daughter.
Hmm.
Or, well, of course he has a daughter, but a friend that might be a single dad, or who knows,
Right,
somebody that
right.
needs some female leadership and some inspiration. But what advice would you give to them about breaking into the industry that clearly is an exciting time to be a woman?
Yeah. I think if you're breaking in right early in your career is what I had mentioned earlier, how I broke in was really being intentional about where I wanted to get experience, right? So whether it's an internship or I remember early on, I still remember to this day because I actually ran into her, a woman who worked at Radio City Music Hall at the time. I met her at a networking event. I think it was a New York Women in Communications event. I approached her. She was speaking. After I approached her, I said, I would love to have an informational interview with you if you're open to it. I'd love to understand what your role is, how long you've been there, just kind of, took a shot. And she did. She met me for coffee, brought me to her office. While we were there, we chatted. She was like looking for jobs for me while we were there. She was trying to help me. Yeah. And so that I still remember that when I ran into her and I told her that it was actually at our Power of Women event that I ran into her and I said, I don't know if you remember me, but I was this college graduate back in the day and you took the time to sit with me and have coffee with me when I was a nobody and not, and then that year she was on our women's impact list. And it was just a full circle moment that I was like, I just wanted to let her know that that really meant something to me, by that just took some time out of her day to do that. So I think now in my career, it's so important anytime that someone asks, I try to do that. You never know, right? You never know what kind of impact you might make or that others make on you. And I think it's really, really important to tell the next generation of the workforce to go for it. Don't feel like you're bothering someone. If you, again, have intention, you're authentic, you are understanding, and you come from it from a place of, I want to learn, people are open to it.
Beautiful. That ripple effect is far reaching.
It really is. It really is.
So, Michelle, it's been absolutely fabulous having this
Thank you
conversation
so
with you. Thank
much.
you so much for sharing your wisdom, your expertise, and your authenticity. Um, a couple really fun rapid fire questions before you go. Your favorite book recommend? If we were like, I love books, as you can see. I don't have all of them here, of course, but what's your favorite book?
Oh my gosh, this is a tough one.
Or
Um,
a favorite book you're reading right now, or
right now, I read a lot of, I know this is so boring, but mom books. I have a child who has ADHD and he's struggled with it and I read a lot of books about that to understand. I don't know if that's a fun read. Back in the day, a book in high school that I read that changed me, rocked me was The Handmaid's Tale. I would say that and that early days, and I know it became a series and just the many subjects there as a woman, but I found that so interesting. And that was even before there was a show, early days, that was a huge one that had an impact.
Beautiful. Your favorite red carpet memory?
It was probably one of our Power of Women moments, because we've had so many, and just seeing the talent, just the lineup of the women that we get. I mean, our events, thankfully, we get so much, billions and billions of press, seeing those clips and video. It's a proud moment with our Power of Women franchise and red carpet.
Beautiful. And who would you love to do an interview with? Or who, if you could pick anybody, who would be the woman that you would either like to take to dinner or have an interview with?
I would say, oh, this is a tough one. I gotta think. There's so
It could be
many.
living or
Oh, we're gonna
yeah.
throw that at me.
I mean, you could just, we're talking to anybody.
Anyone. Barbara Walters.
Mm.
It
May
would be
she
Barbara.
rest in peace, and I hope she's
Yeah,
listening.
yeah. That, I mean, such an icon.
Beautiful. Well, thank you, Michelle. And I am definitely going to knock on your door when I come to
Yes, please do.
NYC and meet you in
Please
person,
do.
and have more chit chat with you. But it has been a pleasure having you. And thank you so much again, for those listeners that are tuning in today. Please share this podcast with someone that needs to hear this message. And we look forward to, and of course, you can find us on anywhere that the Woman of Inspiration podcast is streamed, Spotify and YouTube, of course. But thank you so much for a fantastic interview. And I look forward to continuing the conversation with you, Michelle. Take care.
Thank you so much, Monica, for having me.